Justice with Judge Mablean will be life, because in everything we do, it involves the law.
You came to court to testify about what you heard, what you saw, and what you know.
She's fair.
I don't have a hearing problem. This ear works good. This one works even better.
She's firm.
I'm not responsible for that ticket, and I'm not going to pay for it.
Who says you're not going to pay for it? I make that decision, not you.
She's honest.
What you have to say?
All I have to
Nothing.
say.
This is Justice with Judge Mablean. Teresa Thurmond is suing Ken Chesterfield in the amount of $500. Ms. Thurmond claims she rented Mr. Chesterfield's gym and was charged unexpected custodial fees after her group held an event there. Mr. Chesterfield claims his custodial fees were not a surprise because they were listed in the contract.
All rise. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Court is now in session with the Honorable Judge Mablean presiding.
Thank you, Will. You may be seated. The matter of Teresa Thurmond versus Ken Chesterfield, you're suing him for $500 because you don't believe that he should have charged you a fee for custodial services that was charged for the use of his gymnasium or stadium, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
I'm actually working with a group called the Panthers Education and Community Group. We named it Panthers after the local high school. I am their current president of the organization, and I went back to the organization to give back to the community. We work with kids that are from 7 to 10 years old, from different races, cultural backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses. These are just kids that we want to work with because they're at an age where they're malleable and they're able to learn and grow at a really great time.
So is this a community organization?
Yes, community
Like
organization.
after school and other activities?
Yes, mostly after school. We do some weekend stuff, just enrichment programs to kind of supplement the school. And so we had an event that we wanted to put together for girls, youth empowerment, girl empowerment. We wanted to do some self-esteem building activities, have an opportunity to encourage the girls to be active, to be healthy, and also give them an opportunity to talk to us about any problems they had. That was my responsibility for the event. We were going to listen to a problem, try to put a positive spin on it, give them a different perspective. After the event, the girls were really happy about it, but ultimately, in order for us to have the event, we needed a facility. So I was referred to Mr. Chesterfield by one of the parents. She mentioned that he was a headmaster at one of the middle schools, the private middle schools in the area. The gymnasium there is really beautiful, so I thought, perfect, great place for us to do this event. We talked. I went to his office. We signed the contract. It looked pretty standard to me. He charged me $700 for it. This is an event that was from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., so 10 hours long, so $70 an hour. He gave us a $100 discount, which I really appreciated because this is a group that is based off of donations. And so we were okay, sounded good to me. And then all of a sudden, the Friday before the event, this was a Saturday event, Friday before the event, he calls me and he says, when you get to the school, the security guard's going to meet you and he's going to be expecting the $500 custodian fee. And so I'm like, $500 custodian fee? I just gave you $700 for this event, and we were all clear. He says, nope, there's a $500 custodian fee. It was in the contract. Apparently, if I don't give the security guard the $500 fee, I'm not going to be allowed into the event. The group is not going to be allowed into the gymnasium.
When did you sign the contract? How far in advance of the event?
About a week before the event.
Okay.
So at this point, the day before the event, I have barely 12 hours. I can't cancel this event. This is so important for these kids. So I panic. I called my father. I haven't called my father for money since I was 12 years old. I called him. I said, Dad, I need $500 loan. This guy is not trying to let us into this gymnasium. We have to put this event on.
So in other words, you borrowed the money?
Borrowed all the money.
Okay.
All of it borrowed.
Now you want him to pay you back?
I want him to pay him back because when we got to that event, the bleachers, we needed the entire gymnasium. The bleachers were out when we got there. They had an event the night before and didn't put the bleachers back. When we pushed the bleachers back, there was tons of trash on the floor. Like, I'm talking cups, dirt, everything. And so we had to clean that up before we could even set up for our own event. So if we're paying someone $500 for this, why are we cleaning up for ourselves before the event and we were supposed to leave it presentable so we had to clean up after the event?
Okay, so you're saying you did 2 cleanups?
2 cleanups.
What do you have to say, Mr. Chesterfield?
Your Honor, let me just tell you how this came about.
All right.
I believe in the event. I believe in the work they're doing. We are a private school. I run a private school. I've been in education all my life. I understand, and I'd like to contribute. Ms. Thurman came to us about 5 days before the event. I looked up our calendar, and it so happened that the gym was available. Usually it's not available on short notice. So I said, fine, we'll make it available to you. Here's our contract. We charge $700, and that's your nonprofit rate. It includes a $100 discount because we like to contribute to what you do. I gave her the contract. Something came up. I left the office. I said, please read the contract. When I came back, I said, have you seen the contract? Is everything okay? She says, yeah, it looks pretty normal, standard contract to me. She signed it. She gave me a $700 check, and she left. The day before the event, I realized there was an outstanding balance due for the custodial fee. Normally, we do this way ahead of time.
So you didn't realize it until the day before the event also?
Correct, because that's when I called her.
So she gave you a copy of the contract when she signed it, or she gave you the original back to you, right?
Yes, of course, yeah. But what we do is I sent this down to my office.
I understand that, but she gave it back to you. Just answer my question.
Oh,
yes.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, she did. She did,
okay.
Of course. So generally, we do this well in advance of an event. So we have accounting. People look at things. Here's the check. Here's the custodial fee. Okay, we're done. So the day before the event, I was told, look, the custodial fee is missing. There's no money here for the custodial fee because someone has to do the cleanups.
Coming up on Justice with Judge Mablean.
That's where the fee goes. It goes towards cleaning up the place for the next event so it's available.
And later.
I want $400 is because the one-bedroom apartment that I put them in, their children marked up the wall with markers. So I had to repaint, which cost me $400, and I have with proof of...
But you haven't given them back their security deposit.
No, I didn't.
Justice with Judge Mablean. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878.
The critics are breathless. 47 meters down is terrifying. Must see.
Get back in the cage.
Will leave you gasping for air. The best shark movie since Jaws. 47 meters down. Rated PG-13. Now in theaters.
Lily, she pretty much lives in her favorite princess dress. But once a week, I let her play sheriff so I can wash it. I use Tide to get out those week old stains and Downy to get it fresh and soft.
You are free to go.
Tide and Downy together.
You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Teresa Thurman, who is suing Ken Chesterfield for $500.
You collect the custodial fee before the event, but not at the time of the contract signing.
Correct.
Why?
That's just how it's been done in our business.
But you didn't tell me, so why? I know that's how it's done, but why?
Well,
you got to pay it before they can use the event, the place, right?
Of course.
They got to pay the $700 before they can use the venue. They have to pay the custodial fee before they can use the venue. So why don't you say that the custodial fee is due today at the signing of the contract, within 3 days of the signing of the contract, on the day you come? Why don't you say that?
It might have been an oversight on my part, but it doesn't mean that the fee is not earned and due.
I didn't ask you all that yet.
Okay.
I said, why didn't you spell that out when the custodial fee was due?
Please look at the contract and we can see.
I'm going to look at it. You better bet your dollar I'm going to look at it. So that's your position.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, what about the fact that she says it was dirty? We had to clean it up before we used it. We had to clean it up afterwards. So apparently the custodial fee each group pays, and the reasoning behind it is the place is cleaned up.
Yes.
So that when the next group comes to use it, it's already clean.
Absolutely.
And they're supposed to leave it clean.
Correct, Your
She
Honor.
said it wasn't clean.
Correct, Your Honor.
What happened? What's your position on that?
The bleachers are supposed to stay in place. We were told that the gym is great the way it is. The bleachers are not supposed to be pulled back for any event, except if they need the entire space. That was never spelled out. We leave the bleachers out because people need a place to sit, even during events. We had, in fact, if you look at, if I may just present this email. What happened was that the cleaning fee is, our custodian had to come in on a Sunday, which is double time, and spend time mopping the floor, taking out 8 bags of trash, cleaning a toilet that was flooded, and there was minor flooding in a clogged toilet, and he had to clean all the glass windows before he left. So that's the fee. That's where the fee goes. It goes towards cleaning up the place for the next event so it's available.
That's what I just said. That was my statement to you.
Well, but I detailed it, Your Honor, in the email, because what had happened was that
Why wasn't it clean when they got it?
The space was clean. If there was trash under the bleachers, that is not the space that's supposed to be used, Your Honor.
Oh, Oh, that's your answer. That space wasn't supposed to be used. So the only place you could clean was under the bleachers. You weren't supposed to be going under there.
The thing is, it's a gymnasium. There's no, oh, you can't use the bleachers or you can't. He never made any of that. He didn't specify that when we spoke, that, oh, we don't usually allow people to move the bleachers. We paid for it, so, I mean, I'm sorry, was there anywhere on the contract that it said we couldn't move the bleachers back?
Well,
No.
When you saw this space, you saw what happened.
Yeah, there was nowhere on the contract that said we couldn't use the bleachers. We rented the space.
It's nothing that says that. But what's even more interesting is it appears that this custodial fees will be due before the scheduled event appears to be an afterthought on somebody's part. And I'm questioning when this was typed. It's done by a different typewriter. It's darker and bolder. It is not in line with the rest of the agreement. It does not say how much the custodial fee is. You say usually you send it to the office so they can check that everything is done.
Correct.
When people are renting the place. For office use only, the only things that are checked by your office is request has been completed as detailed above, request has been completed with changes noted below, confirmation has taken place. There's no check mark that say custodial fee has been collected or custodial fee has been requested, and it's office use only. If she cleaned the place in advance of her use and then had to clean it after her use, that means she cleaned it twice and she should have only had to clean it once. So apparently the other people didn't clean it in advance. So pay her back her fee. Refund the lady $500. That's the judgment of the court.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $500.
Next time, you should be more clear about what you're charging people for.
Look, I'm trying to help the community. Maybe I could have been more clear.
Coming up.
I want $400 is because the one-bedroom apartment that I put them in, their children marked up the wall with markers. So I had to repaint, which cost me $400, and I have with proof of...
But you haven't given them back their security deposit.
No, I didn't.
Justice with Judge Mablean. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. Tony Rogers is suing her landlord Sherry Stevens in the amount of $3,000. Ms. Rogers claims Ms. Stevens agreed to compensate her if the renovations to her apartment took longer than 60 days, but the defendant has failed to do so. Ms. Stevens says she was only 5 days over the deadline, but claims she had to start the renovations late because of the plaintiff. Ms. Stevens is countersuing in the amount of $400.
In the matter of Tony Rogers versus Sherry Stevens, this is a landlord-tenant issue. I understand, Ms. Rogers, that you moved out on a promise that if the apartment renovations were not completed within 60 days, that Ms. Stevens would return your security deposit, pay your moving expenses, and allow you to break the lease.
Correct.
But she has done none of that. She says you're not entitled to it because the renovations were finished. So now that we have that dispute, let me hear from you.
So my issue is that, she was working on the roof, had some contractors that working on the roof, and they, for some reason, didn't do rain coverage for the building. We actually had a rainstorm. And so then when that happened, water got into my apartment, damaged some things, and she, being a good landlord, said that she would give me a vacant apartment until she fixed the damages in the 2-bedroom apartment that I was renting with my husband and I and my 2 children. She said we would only be there for 60 days if they're not done. If they're not done after 60 days, that she would allow me to break my lease early, and that she would also give me moving expenses to move out.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is...
plus your security deposit.
Plus my security deposit, yes, ma'am. So what ended up happening was 55 days into the process, which the apartment is still not ready, I contacted her to let her know that, it doesn't look like it's going to be ready. And she replied back, and I have the email to verify that it will be ready on the 60th day. And on the 60th day, I let her know, I contacted her with the keys and let her know that I was moving out. And she stated to me that I was breaking the lease and that she was not going to give me my deposit back. And so,
how were you so prepared to move out on the 60th day if she had up until 60 days?
Because I had already been finding me somewhere to go anyway.
Oh, okay.
Because I got 2 kids and we was already kind of been there a long time.
So you really didn't believe that she was going to have it done, and you started looking for someplace anyway
I did.
Okay. All right, so now I turn to you, Ms. Stevens.
In 60 days, the work was done. I called her that morning.
Okay.
I called her several times that day on the 60th day. She never answered my phone. When I pulled up to the apartment building, she was driving off. I didn't even know she was going to move out, and that was on the 60th day. So I told the contractor, take your time, because I wanted some few more things to be added to the place because they were not coming back. So he was there 2 more days after that. But she could have moved in on the 60th day, Miss Judge Mablean.
Coming up on Justice with Judge Mablean.
I want $400 is because the 1-bedroom apartment that I put them in, their children marked up the wall with markers. So I had to repaint, which cost me $400, and I have with proof of...
But you haven't given them back their security deposit.
No, I didn't.
Justice with Judge Mablean. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Tony Rogers, who is suing Sherry Stevens for breach of contract.
60 days is 60 days. That was the agreement. You told me that. You told me that. There was absolutely no dispute that the agreement was let the lease go, relieve you of the responsibility if it's not completed within 60 days.
But you gotta know, so I got 2 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment. I got a newborn. That's very, very hard for her. We came in the apartment with a 2-bedroom because I understood I have children. It was very hard trying to put a child.
And is that the issue, the fact that she moved out? Or she wants money back?
The issue
and you
is
want
that
$400 back. Why you want $400 back?
I want $400 is because the 1-bedroom apartment that I put them in while I was doing the renovation on the 2-bedroom that they had, their children marked up the wall with markers. So I had to repaint, which cost me $400, and I have with proof of...
But you haven't given them back their security deposit.
No, I didn't. I did not.
So how you going to get another $400?
Well, actually, when I found out she was suing me, you know, I just made sure that I brought in proof that there was damage to the 1-bedroom apartment of $400. Well, no matter what you decide, I was hoping that, you know, the $400 could be deducted if I lost the case.
That's right. Yeah, she has to pay you for damages, but you have to give her back her deposit.
Judge Mablean's verdict when Justice with Judge Mablean returns. Promotional consideration provided by... You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
Now the question is, will she allow you to break the lease under the circumstances? How many more months did you have on the lease in the 2-bedroom apartment until October?
4. I have 4 more months left.
So you owe her, that's 6 more months, because April is the 4th month, October is the 10th month. Your ad is pretty bad. So you owe her 6 more months under the lease. And how much was the rent every month?
$1,500 now.
Oh.
That's a lot of money, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's $9,000 that she could get out of you.
Okay, you know
that's
what?
That's $9,000 because you broke the lease. Are you asking for $9,000? No, you didn't come in here asking for $9,000. She said $400 because you damaged the 1-bedroom apartment. And minus how much was the deposit?
Their deposit was $2,000.
$2,000. The question is she going to ask you for the $9,000? But since her counterclaim only asked for $400, that's all I can give her is the $400. She can't get more than she asked for. But you can't get $3,000.
I can't get nothing?
No, you can't get a thing. Judgment for the defendant, the $400. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff is ordered to pay $400.
If you wanted to move, why you didn't just come talk to me?
No hard feelings. I just thought you broke your agreement and I wanted my money.
This has been a production of Entertainment.